Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Range Report. We hope you're keeping safe and well as isolation is being a little bit lifted. So let's hear from Noel Harrod as to what the plans are going forward in 2020 for Pistol Australia.
Thank you, Westy. We took a decision a week and a half ago with all the states and territories to cancel the remaining 2020 national championships, as well as the national junior camp that was scheduled to be held at the AIS in July. We took this decision because it became fairly clear to us that not all the borders will be open by September or October, and we wanted to give clear guidance to all our participants about what they were doing. So we took that decision. It is regrettable, but it is the best thing for the community at the moment. Of course, the results from the small bore and field pistol national championships that were held in Canberra in March will stand, and the winners and medalists there will be as recorded. We are hoping perhaps later in the year to have a CID camp and to promote the state championships of each state and territory for October, November, and December, if they go ahead at that time. Things are looking good at the moment, but we still don't know, and we still have to sit back and watch.
So Noel, take us through now, 2021, what are the plans?
Yeah, 2021 is going to be an exciting year, and we have some good news. The NRA have agreed to us moving the Action Pistol World Championships that was scheduled for Toowoomba this year in October to the 6th to the 9th of October 2021. This is important news. We did not want to lose those World Championships, so we're very happy and thankful for the support they've given us to move them. In addition to that, I have an announcement about the 2021 PA ISSF National Championships. They were scheduled for Yarra in Victoria. However, there were a lot of competitors who had already paid deposits to accommodation, cars, airlines, and so forth. So Craig Park at Yarra Pistol Club and Bob Maddox and Paul Jenner from VAPA looked at the situation and agreed to give up their hosting in 2021 of those championships and move to 2022. This was a great gesture, and it's not easy for them to do that. They had a lot of other things in place to do so. So we greatly appreciate that. It means that anybody who had deposits for Brisbane this year, they'll be able to access them next year when those championships are held. We believe they'll be the 26th of March to the 4th of April, Easter period. However, we'll wait to confirm those exact dates for you. To update you on the other championships, the 2021 Action Pistol Championships will be held in August at the Yarra Pistol Club. The small bore and field pistol metallic silhouette will be held at the Sporting Shooters Club in Canberra, 5 to 7 March. And the big bore national championships will be held at Toogoolawah from the 17th to the 19th of September 2021. We're fairly close to finalising the 2022 schedule as well. We expect to have that out within the next week or so, and it'll be on the next range report. But we certainly have settled into 2021, and it's all now there, set up for everybody to have a good look at and start their plans. Again, we regret the 2020 cancellations, and I'm sure you'd all agree it's the right thing in the climate we're living in at the moment.
Obviously a great result there, Noel, with the rescheduling of the Nationals back to Brisbane for 2021. It's become apparent, obviously, accommodation, airlines, they're allowing you to hold over your bookings for 12 months, but they're not going to do it right through to 2022. So congratulations to, obviously, the Yarra Pistol Club for allowing that championship to remain in Brisbane, and they'll take it the following year, hopefully. Well, Noel, one of the other great exciting things, we've been doing a lot of work to try and engage our members during this lockdown period. Some ranges are starting to open, but people still can't get back on the indoor ranges. But we've got a great quiz show coming up. We've come up with the idea, that national panel we've had meeting, all the states and territories coming together and talking about ideas to engage members. The quiz show, I'm looking forward. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, Westy, it's been a very good 4 or 5 weeks. There's a representative for every state and territory on our social media committee. We meet via Zoom every Wednesday to discuss what we're doing, what we should do, and ideas for the future, how we're sharing between each other's websites, Facebook pages, the campaigns we're running all over the country to try and make sure that states are running some and we're running some. And out of those meetings came the idea of a quiz show. It's a state initiative. It'll be state versus state, something like state of origin, mate versus mate. It'll be there. The 8 states and territories will have a team of 3 each. And they'll compete in a knockout situation over the next 7 weeks, where each week the winner of the program progresses to the next round, leading to a grand final. Now, it's going to be pretty exciting. It's It's going to be funny. It's not just going to be technical information. There's going to be a lot of funny questions in there as well. And we believe it'll be very good to have a good look at how our pistol states and territories' best 3 representatives can answer tricky questions.
Yeah, Noel, the focus here is having a bit of fun with all the competitors. We do have some technical questions, but we have some fun questions. We have some general knowledge questions, and we're covering across all our different disciplines, which makes it tough. You've got to think about your team, your state team, who's going to represent you. They've got to know a little bit about all the different disciplines and the matches that Pistol Australia present to their members.
Yeah, mate, it's a great program. I want to thank Pat from New South Wales for the idea, and everybody on that committee who's contributed a lot in the last couple of weeks with a lot of fun talking about what we can and can't ask, what the format is. We've discovered software that allows us to run it. It'll be a combination of Family Feud, Hard Quiz, Jeopardy, and a few other things thrown in there. And it won't be just technical questions. It'll cover every discipline, but there'll be historical questions and there'll be some funny ones as well. And I hope we have a great lot of fun. I believe we will. And it'll be interesting to see who the smartest state really is after all.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hosting it. It's going to be every second Wednesday. So we're going to have a range report, and then we'll have a quiz show on a Wednesday, and then back to the range report. So we're sort of topping and tailing each other here between the range report and the quiz show coming up starting next Wednesday. So make sure you get online.
Yes, mate, it's going to be interesting. We all know who are the best pistol shooters, but now we're going to find out who the smartest are and the funniest as well. It's going to be good.
Well, thanks there from Noel Harrod from Pistol Australia. Also, thank you to the Yarra Pistol Club for allowing those nationals to move over. And speaking of them, their president, he's a good friend of ours here on the Range Report. We're going to hand over to Craig Park, and he's going to take us through an in-depth look at reloading. It's pretty fascinating stuff and very technical.
We're at Saffire Trading here with Mario, and he's going to tell us all the tricks and all the things that you need for the new people, the new members that are going to start reloading. Thanks, Mario.
Yes, no problems at all.
Now, you've been reloading for how long?
I started reloading in 1975.
Geez, so 45 years?
A long time ago.
Okay, how many bullets?
Oh, I started off as just a, just a normal guy who just went out and did some rabbiting and bought some, some 12 gauge and some 22s and stuff like that. And so we started loading 12 gauges as a kid with Dad, and
yeah, rightio.
And took it from there. And then I joined a gun club in '85 and pistol club, and started loading pistols.
So what are the things that affect the accuracy of a group of 6 bullets? You know, if I buy a gun and I grab your bullets with my gun, will that be accurate at 50 yards? Or what are the things that can affect the accuracy?
Well, firstly, every gun's different. Okay, so we've got 2 6.86s made exactly the same day. One is, 0.58 and the other one's 0.59, and they both shoot different. Yeah. Okay. So for some reason or other, one was made on the last production on Friday, and then the first production on Monday, and the ream are different, whatever. But you can have variations between guns. But overall, most guns out of the box are pretty accurate, and most loads work for 95% of people. That 5% may need to tweak it in either powder-wise or projectile-wise or whatever. But makes it things that make guns inaccurate is obviously leading in barrels. Yeah. Not really good quality projectiles. For some reason, some projectiles don't work as well as other brands.
And so what would you say, so the new people that are new to reloading, what are the big mistakes that they make?
Firstly, they buy presses or they buy guns without actually working out the event they like to shoot.
Yeah, that's one of my bugbears.
Right, so people will rock up into a club and they'll see all these people doing different things, and then they'll go, oh, well, I want to buy a gun. So they go out and buy a 9mm. And then they realise that they can't use the 9mm for centrefire successfully, or they can't use it for centrefire, or service match, that sort of thing.
Action match.
My first thing that I say to new members, I say, what event do you want to shoot? What event do you like shooting? Yeah. And they say, oh, I like shooting centrefire. Well, you need to buy a revolver. Yeah. That's the most accurate for that event. It's like saying, what sport do you like to play?
Yeah.
You go, I like to play cricket. Well, why did you buy golf clubs?
Why did you buy a hockey club?
So you buy the gun that suits that event.
Yeah, that's really good. That is one of my bugbears. Find the match that you like shooting. Look at them all. Find the match that you like. Buy the firearm for that, and then work up some ammunition for that gun.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find that is a big
And then you
mistake.
buy your press accordingly, you buy your equipment accordingly. There's no point buying a holster if you're shooting centerfire.
No.
So on and so on.
Yeah, so when I started shooting and when I started reloading, I think the factory ammo was about $50 a box, pretty expensive, and you know, it makes it uneconomical. And the people at our club, at Yarra Pistol Club, who Saffire look after pretty well, I must say, they said go see Mario. I said, who's Mario? And they said go to Saffire Trading. And then I come down here and I look around, there's everything. There's presses, powders, produce, brass, there's boxes to put your ammo in, there's all the cleaning gear, there's everything here. And you looked after me pretty well. And we got a press set up and we got all the dies, and you set me up with some new tool heads so I can just change from one tool head for 38 special, and then I just put the 9mm in, or 38 super comp. Yeah, and you made it pretty easy. So you actually do reloading members or
Yeah, I reload for customers, for our own customers. Anyone that wants me to do their loading rather than come in and buy factory ammo or buy their own reloading equipment, we obviously supply a service that we reload customers' shells. So they walk in with 50 empty brass, we reload it for them, and it costs them $18, right? So rather than spending $50, it costs them $18 for a reload. If they were to load themselves, it'll cost them about $12. Yeah, right. That's about that $6 profit margin, or the labour margin that I charge to load for them. But they have to spend probably about, on the smaller press, about $1,600 or $1,800 to set themselves up completely to load that ammo at $12. Okay. So by the time they buy a press, they've got to buy a case cleaner, they've got to buy scales, verniers, you know, all these little tools that they need, you know, on my benches, all that stuff. It'll cost them about $1,500, $1,800, but components, powder, primers, projectiles. But, you know, as I said, we offer the service of people coming in with brass and just reloading it for $18 a packet. But yeah, it's a lot cheaper, obviously, to load your own, but you have to then have the volume to be able to pay for it. Okay, so we're going to do some reloading. We've got some dirty brass. What's the first step? Okay, so here we've got some brass that we've just fired off at the range. It's dirty, and when I mean by dirty, it's been fired, and once you fire it, there's a black build-up of carbon on the outside of the shell. So we need to remove that because carbon's very hard, and so we need to remove that because it ruins your die set when you load. If it's still there, it scratches your dies. So therefore, if you scratch your dies, when you load your cases, it will scratch your cases. And because the cases are scratched, then that's where they'll crack. The second reason we remove the carbon off the cases is because it's a lot easier to put them in and take them out when they're clean. They fall out, they go in easier, and they look nicer too. So we'll put these in a tumbler, let them tumble around for about 2 hours. They'll come out nice and shiny, and then we can start loading.
All right, nice and clean. Okay,
Craig, we've got our nice clean brass here. We've just taken it out of the tumbler. It's been tumbling for 2 hours. So it's nice and shiny and clean at the moment. So that's ready to go. So what we do in this particular case, in this machine, we throw it all into the top of the machine, like so. And that now will circle in there and fall down the machine. Heavy end. Head stamp down, like so. It'll just fall down like that. The machine does it automatically, and that'll be ready to go. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll put some primers in the machine. So we get our primers. Again, the brand of primers does make a difference for the event that you're shooting. If you have a lightened off trigger or a very, very light trigger strike, you need to use a Federal primer, which is a very soft primer, okay? That will go off virtually every time. It's a very, very soft primer. Winchester Primers are another good brand. We use these all the time for our 9mm and standard 38s and standard rounds. The only time we use federal is when you've gone down and you've got a trigger job done to your revolver or your auto, and its strike is very light, so therefore you need a very soft primer.
So for a tuned gun, a revolver with a trigger job. So the idea, we want a lighter trigger pull, which makes the gun more stable. Less likely to shake. So we have a lighter trigger strike, or hammer strike. So then the federal small pistol primers are the way to go. That's right. Whereas with a semi-auto, they're constantly a heavier strike, are they? Also
with revolvers that haven't been tuned.
Yeah.
They're a lot heavier. There's a I think by memory is a 14 or 15 pound strike on a revolver. When you reduce the poundage by springs and polishing and changing parts inside, it drops down to about 5 pound.
Mine's about a 5 pound, yeah.
So that 5 pound of strike will not detonate most of the normal standard primers. So you really need it.
Yeah. And we don't have time, do we? We might have 6 shots in 4 seconds.
That's right. You can't keep going around until it goes off. Yeah.
No time to muck around. You lose 10 points around
and focus and concentration. You lose that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So how do we load
at the moment, we're going to load some Winchester primers. So this is our primers. Okay. So we've got our Winchester primers. We'll put them in.
All right. Those Winchester primers come out all nice. I use federal small pistol primers. They don't come out so nice like that. So you have to flip them up.
Yep, no problems, Craig. I'll show you how to pick these up as well. These are easy as well. You put them in the same way. You put them on your tray, and as you can see, they're standing on their side. Some of them have fallen over the wrong way. Some of them are the right way. But overall, there's a mixture there. So by shaking the tray around, this tray's got some ribs on it. So by shaking the tray around, they all end up with the anvil upside down.
Okay, now when they're like that, do you inspect the primers at that stage? Do you look at anything?
Yes, I make sure that all the primers have got anvils in them, because sometimes the anvil's missing on the inside of the primer. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while you may have a faulty primer, and there's no point picking that up and loading it because it won't go off. So especially if you're at a high level competition, this is what you should be doing. You should be inspecting your primers and making sure that everything you're loading is 100%.
Okay, so we've got the primers, we've got to get them in the machine.
Yes, so in this case, we've got to put our primers in the priming system. All the Dillon presses are virtually the same priming system, the way they're loaded. We poke a little primer rod in the top so that when we pull the pin out, we can see that they've fallen through.
Okay, and so then when you've used your 100 primers all the way down, and your little button here pushes your alarm.
Yep.
That's when you know
you need to refill the primers.
Refill the primers, yeah.
So the reason why I have a low powder sensor is because not only because it tells me that the powder's low, but because I have so many interruptions that, you know, I forget. Or you might say, oh, I'm looking at the powder as I'm loading, and I say, oh, I need to fill that powder up, and then telephone rings, I answer the phone, or a customer comes in, I come back, and I look at it, and I start loading. I've forgotten that I had to put powder in it, and I may load without any powder. So I have a low powder sensor that buzzes. When it buzzes, I top it back up, it's done. It's not a necessity, but it's something that's available from Dillon. So it's a good thing to have.
So we put the powder in, and then how do we adjust that?
We have a little powder bar, which is, this is the powder bar, and it has a little crank at the back where you turn it clockwise, gives you more powder, anti-clockwise gives you less. So you turn it until you've got the desired weight, and you use scales to determine the weight, or to tell you what the weight is, and once it's adjusted, it virtually doesn't move. You would only readjust that or check it if you change your powder. For example, if you're using a tin of AS30 and you finish it and you go out and buy another tin of AS30, the first 2 or 3 loads, you would check it to make sure there isn't a variation in between batches. And always a good idea to check your powder charge at the start of your loading, even if it's the same tin, just your first 1 or 2 cases, just check them, make sure that your charge hasn't changed, someone hasn't come along and given it a bit of a turn, or one of the kids have played with it or something. They shouldn't be in there, but you never know in life. Just always check your charge before you load 200 or 300. Your first one's a check, start loading away. But yeah, that shouldn't move. That should not move unless someone turns it.
Okay, let's put some powder in and see how that looks.
Righto, well, let's grab the powder.
AS30.
All right, so this is our powder. This is what's called as AS30 at the moment. We can still get our hands on some of this. So that gets poured in here. I like to fill it to the top. Even if you have to load 50 rounds, I like the fact that you fill it to the top, because I have had people that they only put a very small amount in there because they're only loading 50 rounds, and after the 48th round they've run out of powder and they haven't realised it, because it goes under. It goes underneath the silver part here and they can't actually see.
So then that bullet falls into the tray of 50 and you don't know which one it is.
And you've got 2 bullets or 1 bullet with no powder in it.
You don't know.
Because they didn't want to fill it up. So you fill it up, even though you're loading 50, you fill it up. When you're finished, you put it back into pour it back into your container. No big deal, but don't underfill, always overfill.
So we don't store our powder in the hopper?
No, we don't leave powder in the hopper for 2 reasons. First and main reason, it is illegal to leave powder in your machine. It's not stored away. So primers and powder and ammunition need to be stored in a separate container, locked separate container. Your guns need to be separate again. They need to be in a safe. But your powder, primers and ammunition need to be locked away. So
it's just like ammunition?
Yeah, oh, this is a powder. That tin needs to be locked away. When you're finished with it, you've got to put it away. You cannot leave it here. If you get an inspection and you're not loading at the time, they will charge you for not having your powder locked away. The second reason we don't leave it in the machine is because it draws humidity and it will lose its strength. Okay, so you won't get as good a result as you did when it was
variations.
Fresh. Variations.
Yeah.
Also, it ruins the plastic on the machine. After a period of time, it turns it black. So we don't leave powder in here at all. So we empty it out every time we finish shooting, or sorry, finish loading. We empty out the hopper. Back in the container. Back into the container. I use a funnel. I put the funnel on top, pour it back into the container and lock it away. Put it into a lock cupboard at the end of the day.
Okay.
All right. Now that's ready to start loading.
So at the same time we're decapping, we're resizing the brass.
That's right.
So the brass is flared open when we've shot.
Yep.
So we resize. Then at the same time that we put a new primer in, on this press at least anyway, the 650, we're putting the powder in and we're flaring the top of the brass ready to receive the projectile. So then the next stage, what happens there?
The next stage is a crimping stage. It closes the case back up. Okay, so basically there are on this press, there are 4 stations. There's the first station, as you said, sizes the case back to factory specs and pops out the old primer. Then the case turns around, the shell plate turns around, picks up a new case that drops in, goes to the second station, then expands the top of the case and drops a powder charge and also places the new primer into the case. So it does 3 functions. The second stage will do 3 functions. Puts a new primer in, expands the top of the case to allow a projectile to be seated, and also powders.
Puts the powder in.
A powder charge. Then the shell plate turns around again. The first station does the same job. Now the second station will do the same job as I've just described. The third station is your seating station. You put your projectile in. Once you squeeze the handle down or press it down, it will seat the projectile into the case at the desired length.
So that's adjustable?
That is adjustable. Everything is adjustable, okay? But it will seat it at the desired length, overall length, and then it will turn to the next station. So every station repeats its purpose. The last station, because the case has had a flare on it, okay, to allow the projectile to go into the case rather than shave the sides, because if it was straight, it would shave the side of the projectile and make it inaccurate, because it's taken weight off one side, like a bit like a wheel being out of balance. So we flare the case, allow the projectile to go into the case, and in the last station re-straightens it and gives it a bit of a crimp so it holds on to the projectile. And at that point, the case is, the round is done, it's finished.
So there's another variation, isn't it? How much crimp? So not only what type of proggy, how heavy a proggy, how far you push the proggy in, what sort of powder, how much powder, the overall length, how much crimp we put on makes a difference, because that will also, the more crimp, more pressure builds up to shoot it, and then more pressure, different velocity. So all these different variations.
So it's the crimp actually holds the projectile in place. Okay, so If you've got a light crimp, it's just sitting there, and if you've got a pair of pliers, you could just lever the projectile out. With a heavy crimp, you would virtually destroy the projectile to pull it out. It's like someone really grabbing a hold of it. So, all right, and that therefore, the fact that it's been held so tight, the pressure's got to go a lot higher for it to be released. Okay, so we're using Black Widow projectiles at the moment. They're a coated projectile.
I use Black Widow, nice local supplier, Australian guy.
So they've got a coating on them which conceals the lead, so we're not getting any lead exposure. So as you can see, every station does a job. First station will size and deprime, the second station will prime, powder and expand. Third station will seat, the fourth station will crimp, and the last station drops it out into the bucket already loaded. There are our finished rounds.
So Saffire Trading, if you need bullets made, if you need the presses, sales and service, and all the spare parts over there.
Yep.
If you need your components, primers, prodigies, powders, anything else.
We've got everything, earmuffs, shooting glasses.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Craig and Mario. A fascinating insight into reloading. Make sure you join us on Saturday. A new webinar coming up. We've got Marnie Jones, Dean Bruce from Australia. We've got Kelvin Carter from New Zealand and Thomas Svensson from Sweden, talking all things WA 1500, our first international panel at the special time of 5 p.m. on Saturday afternoon Eastern Time. That's 4:30 Central and 3 p.m. in the West. Of course, over in New Zealand, it'll be 7 o'clock in the evening and 9 a.m. for all our guests coming out of Western Europe. And of course, next Wednesday night, a week from now, get on board with the quiz show and we'll have our first two state teams going head to head. This is Mike for the team here at the Range Report. We hope to see you again in the future very soon on the Range. Bye for now.